Hi everyone. Thank you for coming and thank you for your patience. We've had a little bit of a delay with traffic, but Denise is on her way. And so hopefully give her a couple of minutes while I introduce the day session and talk about the panel. So thank you all for coming. So firstly, I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we're gathering on today, the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people, and recognise that their sovereignty has never been ceded, always was, always will be Aboriginal land. I want to pay respects to all the people of the Eastern Kulin Nations and pay respects to elders past, present, and any Aboriginal people that are here today. Thank you so much for coming. So my name's Crystal McKinnon. I'm a Yamatji historian, research fellow over at RMIT, and it's my pleasure to be here facilitating this panel today. That's enough about me, but I'll go to the background to the project because I know that everyone's keen to hear about what's been going on. So some background. So I'm going to talk about the background and then I'll introduce you to our deadly panel. But firstly, so thanks for coming to hear today from these incredible Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and to help launch the start of a longer term project about the history of Aboriginal community controlled organisations here in Victoria. By way of background as to how this project came about, there is an Aboriginal consultation group for Melbourne Knowledge Week with representatives from the Aboriginal Advancement League, the Victorian Aboriginal Legal Service, Victorian Aboriginal Community Services Association, the Victorian Aboriginal Community Controlled Health Organisation, Victorian Aboriginal Education Association Incorporated. I've got to remember all the acronyms when you're going through, because I got them all in acronyms, so I was like, actually people won't know what they say. So yeah, and also the Victorian Aboriginal Health Service. So the League, VALS, VACSEL, VATCHO, BAI and VARS. So this year there's representatives from that committee. So this year the members of this group together developed the project that they wanted, a community-led history of Aboriginal community-controlled organisations in Victoria. They wanted to work collaboratively with an Aboriginal researcher and also an Aboriginal and artist and curator. And it was an honour for me to be asked to be that research person. So this panel forms part of a longer-term project. There are a number of outcomes related to the project and there are some that are still being developed. But amongst what will be delivered will be a timeline of this history, which will include the organisations on the committee that I mentioned earlier, and also others such as Elizabeth Morgan House Aboriginal Women's Service, which began out of the Aboriginal Advancement League, Marge Tucker and William T. Onus Hostels, and a whole range of others that hopefully some people will touch upon some of those histories today. Okay. And as a part of this project, a number of oral histories will be recorded with people determined by the collective and also input from community. And archives such as the Aboriginal Advancement League ones, which are held over here at the State Library of Victoria, actually here at the State Library of Victoria. VATCHO's archives, which are held by them. Gary Foley's Aboriginal History Archive at Victoria University. So all these sort of places will be used to find materials such as pamphlets, photographs and other materials related to this history. So the timeline and oral histories and these sorts of materials will be used in the next stage of the project, which will be led by the Aboriginal artist or curator yet to be determined, so I'm not being elusive with that. That part hasn't been determined who that is yet. But anyway, who will create an installation and exhibition at the State Library's Keith Murdoch Gallery during Melbourne Knowledge Week next year, so in 12 months' time. You may have noticed when you signed up for this event, I'll just let Denise come over. You haven't done your introductions yet, so that's all right.
Shouldn't you left that woman on the phone?
We're glad you found it. So you may have noticed that when you signed up for the event, that there's a section on the website where you got your tickets, where for you to add your story or history or information about any Aboriginal community-controlled organisations or any histories and stories that you wanted to share. And we'd love for you to share your stories and thoughts with us. This project is not meant to be a definitive history, but one which the collective hopes will be built upon for future projects at Melbourne Knowledge Week and beyond. It's an inclusive, generative project which we hope will inspire a new generation to know the importance of this history and to learn not only about the critical and vital role that these organisations play in our community to deliver services and support to mob, but also the passion and love that our mobs have for our Aboriginal community organisations. So thank you all for coming, and hopefully that gives you a bit of background into what this is all about. So I'll just do an introduction to the panellists and then we'll get into the questions. So firstly, I'm going to introduce Uncle Pat Farrant. So Uncle Patrick Farrant Senior is a proud Muddy elder and cultural lead at Bunjalwara Aboriginal Youth and Drug Alcohol Healing Service. Uncle Pat has worked in the Aboriginal community legal, health, social and emotional wellbeing and drug and alcohol sectors throughout Victoria for over 40 years. He has been directly involved in the establishment of several innovative approaches to support the Aboriginal community, including his work in Shepparton with night patrols, police liaison, sobering up centres, family group homes and outreach services. In Melbourne, he was active in the very beginnings of the Justice Forums, leading to the development of the Aboriginal Justice Advisory committees. And so much more, which is included in this bio, which we're going to be talking about today too. And now we've got Denise McGuinness. So Denise McGuinness is a very proud Gunditjmara Wiradjuri Yorta Yorta Jar Jar Wurrung woman. She has 3 beautiful children and 2 gorgeous grandsons. Denise is very passionate about the LGBTIQA+ community awareness and support services. She has worked at the Victorian Aboriginal Health Services for over 20 years in various roles. Currently, she works in community engagement. Denise's other commitments and interests are stand-up comedy, since winning the 2010 National Deadly Funny competition. She is passionate about raising awareness for autism and support services. Tani Nonis Williams is a proud Gunditjmara, Bindal, Yorta Yorta person and Torres Strait Islander from Mer and Erub Islands. Tarneen lives on unceded lands of the Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung peoples. Tarneen is a community organiser for Warriors of the Aboriginal Resistance, working on Invasion Day, Black Deaths in Custody and Stop the Forced Closures of Aboriginal Communities in Western Australia. They are a filmmaker and writer and have been published in Indigenous X, Saturday Paper, NITV and Right Now. Tarneen's film, Young Mob Questioning Treaty, has been screened internationally at Imaginative in Toronto and Tampere Film Festival in Finland. It's amazing. Tarneen works at as the community legal educator at the Victorian Aboriginal Legal Service. And lastly, but certainly not least, we have Angelie Solomon, who's stepped in yesterday as Lee's come down with COVID. So thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. So Angelie Solomon is an ngarrgu and Gurrang woman who has worked at VAI for over 15 years. She's a proud mum to 4 boys and serves on the board of the Aboriginal Advancement League and the Melbourne Stars Basketball. She is one half of the comedy and entertainment duo Two Gins on the Rock. I highly recommend you see them, they're very funny. And she's also an artist. So thank you all for coming. Join me in thanking you all. So we'll get into the questions, since I've spent a lot of time doing the intros of everything. So firstly, this is just an open question. Maybe I'll go around the group that way.
Left to the dealer?
Hey?
Said left to the dealer?
Yeah, left to the dealer. Can you tell me what Aboriginal community control means to you? So what does self-determination mean to you, either of those?
I think in the context of Aboriginal organisations, I think it means that we have Aboriginal people leading the organisation, like at a board level, and we have Aboriginal CEOs, we have Aboriginal managers. You know, I think that's what self-determination means to me, and it's about Aboriginal people in our communities making decisions about what is best for us. And that goes for like through all the different sectors that we all work in, whether it's legal, health, education, you know, all of the organisations that we're a part of decide, you know, what issues are the most important and what issues we want to address. And I think that's something that, you know, Aboriginal community-controlled organisations do really well, because we are in our communities and we're like closely connected to the community, and we not just see the issues, but also like we can experience the issues that our community faces. And I think that's why Aboriginal community organisations are really important and really incredible and at the work that they do. I think particularly when we compare them to, you know, not-for-profit organisations that provide charity and that are really just connected from the community. So I think, yeah, our community, like, you know, Aboriginal community-controlled organisations are really the leaders of advocacy, as well as like support for our community.
What do you think?
Ditto. I think, you know, ACCOs are really, they are the voice. They, you know, with the mob, it's an opportunity for the mob in the different sectors, just like what Tanya was saying. You know, we know what the issues are and we know how to fix them. We know how to engage community. We know how to address those issues, if there are issues, and, you know, to make it better, you know, whereas, you know, you got the government, you know, trying to, it's like the government implement this stuff, but it doesn't work because, you know, so community organisations are really important, vital part of any community across the nation, because we are the voice, they are the voices of the communities across, you know, the different nations.
Uncle Pat?
I don't know what to say. You know, like I said, I'm very shy. But, like I can go back a long time. In my days, I was born in Barrel, New South Wales, what country up there, and I was raised on the mission there. A lot of crews lived on the mission there, and I left there. I didn't leave, my family did leave from there and went to from Barrel to Deniliquin. I don't know if you heard about the flats in Deniliquin, where all the quarters used to live, over the river. There's, on the reserve they called it. They called it the flat, because people say, oh, they had a block of flats there. No, that's camps we had on the riverbanks. And most places we lived on the riverbanks, both sides of the river. So it hasn't changed too much today with our organisations, and VATSO's a big part of our organisations right across the state, you know. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's about 30, I think, around the state, through VATSO, where they started, whether they're big ones or small ones. But both sides of the river now, like you look at Shepparton and just down the road is Chuka and Mum on the other side, and as you go down the Murray, there's Swanhill, and on the other side is Wamma country, and then down to Robinwald and Mildura, all the way down to South Australia on both sides of the river. You know, as you know, it's a big river that belongs to us, to this country, and where we used to go back in the day. You know, so I've been around for a while, you know, and I just remember when I first come to Melbourne at the age of 18, I think it was. Can't remember now, but you know, around that time when Lionel Rose was fighting and won the title, so that's how long ago. And the first health service I went to, apart from Lara, in Fitzroy, Greater Street. The health service was there set up, and because everybody come to Fitzroy and over the park, and the doctor's over there and over the road and stuff like that. So, but the changes that happened in that time, the last 50, 60 years, I've been in the state, the other states, and talked about what we have in this state of Victoria. We're very fortunate and lucky in a lot of ways, because a lot of our elders in the past, started all this stuff way back. We didn't have much on health service in Fitzroy, but you can go just about, I call them service stations around the state. You can go from here to Bairnsdale or further down, and within 50 k's, you got a little service there. So I call them service stations. You drop in there and have a feed and maybe get a voucher or something like that. And, there's always somebody you can drop in and have a yarn to, because and even whichever way you go from Melbourne, there's a lot of services on the road that you can access, And that's my dream, to travel around and just get vouchers all around the country and camp on the river and stuff like that. But, I've been involved with health services and legal service for a long time, and it's about justice for our people, and especially for when we're talking about our young people, the future. My job down at Bundoora, down in Hastings, Healing Centre, it's a rehab centre, but I don't like to use it for that. It's a healing centre, and it's for families to have their young people taken care of. We run a 12-bed down there with 16 to 25-year-olds, male and female. So we, just as a mainstream, that's all they do. But as a Koori organisation, we are in partnership with the state, right around health, justice, courts, Koori courts, the whole lot. So we do a lot of work outside of what we're set up for, and we don't get funding for that, We've got a lot of support from VATCHA and other services as well that work with us in partnerships, because VAR's, the Victorian Aboriginal Health Service, in partnership with YSAS, it's the mainstream service, so they work together, and myself and another guy down there that's a co-manager. So it's a bit of black and white. There's nothing to do with Collingwood either, but But we have a good understanding. We had a BLG set up there that myself and Pete Dawson, the co-manager, so we consult with each other before we make a decision, because, I represent every young person in the state of Victoria and their families. They trust me to take care of their young kids that come to our service. Anything goes wrong at Bundoora, they wonder what the hell is going on down there, that sort of stuff. I'm accountable for every family in the state if young people come to our service. And the same with the other organisations, because we started in Melbourne, now we've spread right across the state. We've got a lot of services, mainstream services working with us as well. So, but we're still hungry for more services and a better way of doing things. I think VATCHA leads the way with all that stuff around health, and just not health. There's a lot of other services that are attached to us, because they don't just come to you and see the doctor. There's a lot of other issues, justice, outcomes and housing and homelessness and everything else. And we're supposed to cater for that, but I can go back under my country in Burrunnelan and live where I lived on the mission or down the river and be happy. But I'm spoilt now, because coming to Melbourne, a lot of people come on to Melbourne. I asked them, why are you coming to Melbourne? Because it's work and what they got down here. I said, I can say this, I reckon this is the best state in the country for us Kooris. Because I went to Adelaide not long away, not too long ago, and I asked them what they got over there. They're at least about 30 years behind us, you know. They are. And I said, well, you know, the time on the clock tells you that too. You're a bit slow moving forward. You know?
30 minutes
but,
behind.
but I mean, you know, they're different over there. They do the business, but I think my works, I've had a lot of people support me, and there's some people there in the audience today that I've worked with and over my years, and Uncle Kev Kims and all those people, and there's a lot of, you know, Uncle Alf Bamble that passed away and stuff like that. They put me on the right track, because when I come to Melbourne at 18, 19, I was a bit wild, you know, like we did in the parks.
Still a
and
bit
stuff
wild,
like that. But, you know, in a couple of months I'll be 75, and I asked myself, how lucky am I to be working full time at the age of 75? Not too many Koori men. They just, you know, probably 60, around about that. Lucky is 65. So I asked the doctors and experts, I said, well, what do you think it is? Well, it's one thing is about having a reason to get up every day. Doesn't matter if you've got a job or not, but you've got to have a reason to get up, you know, and something to do. I think the key with us, mob, is a place to work and a safe place to live, you know, and with our kids, you know, education and stuff like that. So, you know, those things, I just look back and I thought, well, you know, all the people that helped me on my journey, you know, and now even my cousin, I didn't know her before, but I, you know, she's a Solomon lady from me, from Gunai country down there. So my grandfather comes from there, so I can travel around Victoria and camp anywhere because I got gullies all over the place, you know. Lucky again, you know, but
Yeah.
I don't take anything for granted. And the people that I worked for in the past, the Rumballoa up there, when I worked up for 20, 30 years up there. First health service down at Rumballoa, when they had a little shack there and one doctor there. And that's why I started my journey with health and stuff. I was a cleaner at Rumballoa when one doctor was there, a couple of days a week at Maribna, where they set up. Now they're a big organisation, and I was proud to be a part of that, and the Rumballoa Football Club and all that, because we got to have those sort of things to engage people, to come along and be supportive and be part of growing what we do in the state of Victoria. It's been bloody hard work, but you know, we're there for the long haul. When we're not around no more, there's a lot of people around us, so they'll learn, and like this young lady here and this one here, and my good friend here has been around for a while as well. So. But she's funny, I know she's funny, but she can tell you.
Because that's similar to your story too, eh?
Like I said, I'm very lucky and fortunate to be doing what I do today with a lot of people and mainstream services as well. And I'll get and talk to Dan Andrews or politicians any day of the week if they let me in the door, because this is, hey, we tried over and over in the past, they failed. Now give us back the reins and let us drive these
We should
things.
make it a campaign issue to get you in front of Dan Andrews.
Well,
and
you
tell him.
know, so, hey, you failed, let us do our work, because we know our people better than anybody else.
Yeah.
Because our mob won't talk about certain things, but we've got a way how we talk to them. Hey, bros, sis, come on, let's go and have a yarn or whatever. You know, what's the problem? You know, well, you know, no, I don't want to hear about blaming somebody else. What is your problem? You know, we can address that and work with. He's a person you can talk to and stuff like that. And, you know, we got his, but what's between the his is a brain. So what's that? If that's not working, nothing else will work. I said to people, so like a car, run out of fuel is not going anywhere, you know, but they can get the fuel round the corner. And don't tell it either. But, you know, that's that's my focus with my work and people I work with, and
why
a
it's
lot of
important.
non-Koreans as well. So and basically educating and trying to get young people to come to Banjarra. We got a lot now putting their hand up to come to Banjarra, not for court or court orders. It's putting their hand up. Said, I want to make a change for myself and my family. So that's the lead. That's the start. You're not expected to do 100%. I just say to them, give us your best shot. Have a try, and you might surprise yourself. So thanks again. These guys just roped me up and said it came a bit of a shock, but like I said, I'm not a good speaker, but I'm a bit shy, but anyway, thanks for the invite and you guys to come on and listen. And if you want to contact me at Banjarra, I'm happy to have a chat.
We've still got a couple of questions, Uncle
one
Pat.
condition.
Don't give it up too
We haven't
soon.
finished yet.
One condition is that it's lunch.
Yeah.
That's all. Nothing else.
Because,
So-
your story is similar too with starting out at the health service, the same
Yeah,
as
but
Uncle
I'm
Pat.
much younger than Uncle Pat. So.
Yeah, it's true, it's true.
Yeah, I started when I started work at the Aboriginal Health Service in Gertrude Street when I was 14. After school, just used to go up, meet the family, and Auntie Alma said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I just come looking for Nan." And she said, "Go up there and answer the phones," because no one wanted to be upstairs where the switchboard was. Everyone wanted to be downstairs where everything was happening.
Action.
So from there, and then I finished school, and I ended up doing Koori College
Yeah.
in 80, I can't remember, 84, eh?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain what Koori College is?
Koori College, it was in Cunningham Street, where Northcote, where the old league was, and we had Aboriginal lecturers in politics of health, the doctor for medical, and just it was a school, like, it was run by my late Uncle Bruce, like, he ruled the school, like, we used to go to the builders and go to Koori College at Crook, and we'd cop it the next day. Like,
Builders' arms.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
see,
builders,
right.
yeah, so, yeah. But it was, they got the concept, I think, from the barefoot doctor, like they went overseas and brought that concept back. Because we know, like Tarneen said, we know what's best for our people. And it's about a safe place, like, especially for the parkies, because the parkies wouldn't go to the hospital, because they didn't want to stay there. So we took the hospital to them in the park and just made sure they got their vitamin D shot. Like, just get that, then you can start drinking. And they didn't have to tell their story again. They didn't even have to be sick. They just come in, and a lot of community met their families at bars, Fitzroy, and yeah, it was a meeting place. And I was just thinking, like, back in the day, how packed it was, like. And if you wanted to catch up with someone and you had an argument, I'll meet you at bars, like it was a gym, like. It's like the Facebook of today, Bars was like, yeah. And a health worker, you didn't have to go and do like the Koori College. That was from the cleaner to the driver, and you wore many hats, and you done it. You after hours. That's what's unique about our service. We didn't knock off at 5, We'd drop off that voucher at 6 or something because they knew where you lived. So, yeah.
It's like more than just the service that it's providing, it's everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember working for nothing for 6 months we worked. Back in those days, you could write Centrelink and we all went under our mum's maiden name, but yeah.
I was
No,
working
before
for that,
internet, it was good, cashed up. That cashed up, we went out and I bloody got locked up in the uniform, real proud of the little yellow uniform, trying to hide in the park and they could see us. And I thought, no wonder they chose yellow. Yeah. And that's what it was for the parkies, you know. And, yeah.
It's probably leads in, because the next question I had was about why Aboriginal community-controlled organisations are so important for our mob. I think that's what you're talking about. It's providing services, and helping people in the ways that they need to be helped. Talking about the parkies and things like that, people who would go without if the health service wasn't there, right?
And it was a home away from home, some were homeless and they were diabetic, so the health centre was where they kept the insulin and...
Yeah.
People send their mail there.
What's that?
People send their mail.
Their mail.
So, if mob were locked up and stuff as well, or homeless, they'd, send their mail to
And when the
VARS,
Centrelink
and
checks
then
used to come...
VARS used to have a thing where they'd keep mail and it was all in alphabetical order, and so they would keep people's mail. I don't know if they still do it now, but when I was there, they used to do it. And you'd go in there and a black fellow who was homeless would go in there and say, "Hey, I'm just here to pick up some mail," and they'd tell the receptionist their name, and then they'd just grab the big stack of mail that they haven't picked up for a few months, and then they'd take it so that they were able to have an address to get things sent to.
For the debt collectors, They go, no, I'm not worrying about that, leave that there.
Return to sender.
But is my cheque there? They used to sign, on the website.
But the other thing about that, when they used to send the checks out in the post, I know in funnel, and I've done it back in the day too, you go around behind the post office and get the mail from before it goes out. Before it goes out in the street. So I can get my cheque out the back of the post office. And I used to work with Social Security down here with Arnie Graham Brooks,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Then I had to come up from where the Social Security office was down there, where I was working down there with Grant Hansons and Arnie Graham, to come up the health service. I didn't like coming through the park, so I thought, hey, Pat, I need to see you. I need to get a cheque because of advance payments, because I said, well, you know the rules, don't you? No, they can take out payments or whatever. So could you sign it off? I said, well, come down to the office and what's the reason? So I was, don't tell me, a funeral, because I'll know about it. If there's something other emergency or whatever. But so they just come down and said, look in there, Pat, come here. Can you talk to Andy Green and see if I can get a cheque advancement? So, and Grant Hanson, he was working there as well. So, yeah, okay, we've got a trouble. So, got to go to the bank. So, mob down there. So, something going on down there. So, all those things, but it's still there, the way we do it, because we're smart, our mob of, most of them have a phone, and they can teach me a few things about it. I don't get on Facebook, even my grandkids, Pop, look, this is all you could do. Hey, write it down. Oh, I can't write that down. Here, look, just go there and do that, and the next says that. I said, well, no, hang on. I got to go to bloody TAFE to learn about computers. And, with the lockdown now, I had to get a vase that set me up working from home. I said, I can't do that. I said, mentally, it's no good for me, living on my own. And you're trying to lock into teams and have meetings and stuff. And so I could write it all down, tip 1, 2, then. But now, it didn't take long. It's pretty easy when you know AI.
Yeah.
You can just get into a meeting or join a meeting or whatever. But you got to have invitation to come, Don't forget that, because our mobs just like to walk in and help themselves to the fridge and have a feed and, I must stay overnight. Has you got room? On the couch there. And they're there for another 6 months, When they're going home,
Yeah.
hurry.
I remember when I was younger, I grew up in Portland, and VARS, like Victorian Aboriginal Health Service, used to have the dental van, and the dentist that was there at the time, Alex, he would come down, and they would like stay at our house, and he'd like cook us dinner. So, and then like he'd service the community, and like for dental when they'd come down, and it's just funny, you know, all of the things that we would do for each other, like because Mum and Dad would.
And the dentist stayed there like for 30 years, eh? Like,
Yeah.
we're celebrating 50 years next year, but Dr Chris Frederick's like 50 years at one place, and they started off at the back of a ute, hey, and went down Wilcannia everywhere. Uncle Johnny Mack used to love it because he didn't have to buy food and wait for the dentist to feed him, yeah. So, yeah.
What
But
was
all
the
those
next question,
things
Crystal?
started from, so people want to do something. You know?
Yeah.
Just let's take the service
And it
to
was
them.
needed.
You know? They can't access it. We'll take it to them. You know? That's how we do our work today. You know? And we've got great leaders in the past that have set us up to where we are today. So we need to acknowledge them, what they've done, and they're still around in spirit guiding us today. So.
Absolutely.
And it's not like work, hey? It's like just getting up, going, catching up, like. Doesn't feel like, oh, I've got to go to work. Like you want to get to work, or you miss out on someone had a row in there today, or, you know.
Yeah.
Someone brought the baby in.
Yeah, the baby, eh?
Yeah. Well, Angie sitting up in the reception
Oh, giving them...
at VARS with her like
Oh, the jukebox.
the jukebox.
Yeah. They were happy with that. Like,
Yeah,
they
that's
said,
good.
oh, I feel like going drinking. I said, no, you got to go see the doctor first. Like, yeah.
Down the camping.
Oh, yeah.
Down the builders.
Yeah.
Sorry, Crystal.
I was going to ask, the
Yeah, your
next question was going to be about what are some of your favourite memories of Aboriginal community orgs, whether as a kid or as a worker or a teenager? Like, doesn't have to be.
Angie, do you want to go first? I feel like
No,
we've
this is
been
great.
going for it.
I don't know. I think
You're
that
talking about
I
your
was-
younger days now, eh?
You know,
Younger
I'm
or
40
worker,
this year. I'm 40
anything.
this year. You know, I was born in community and I just grew up in community, so I don't know without community or without the orgs in my life. So it's just one of those things. But I remember small things, like I would go to a Catholic school, you know, in Thornbury, but I would have after school care in Croxton Hall next to the league. But we used to play at the back of the league, and they had those big steps. And I remember I fell, and I got a big scar because I got glass stuck in my knee or something like that. But, you know, and I used to, my parents ran one of the family group homes. So I grew up with all these brothers and sisters that weren't my brothers and sisters, but they were just my big brothers and sisters. But, you know, they would drag me and my siblings, if they were old enough, because we were still little then, but to the discos at the league, you know, and the blue light discos and stuff like that, or, you know, things like that. So they've always kind of been in my life, or, you know, I kind of don't know without it. So all the orgs kind of run all different types of things. You know, I've been working at VAO for 15 years, and you know, at some points we go through all these old photos, and they've got boxes and boxes of all these old photos. And I found these photos of me when I was like 11 or something on this camp, but I don't remember what it was for.
Yeah.
But it was on this camp, and I never knew VAO ran it, but I've got all these photos of me when I was little, like, you know, so it was weird to then work for VAI and find all these photos of yourself from when you were little. Like, how'd you get these photos? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer when it's such a massive part of your life, or like everything, and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you guys? Or you? Tara?
And back then, all the services were in Fitzroy. It's like Uncle Pat said, someone would come from Perth and straight to bars, like Fitzroy. And then if they couldn't do any good at that service, they don't worry, I'll go up the road to Vaca. But we've already rang back and told them you're playing up, like, you know. Yeah. So it was all like walking distance. And we'd all wait, like no one wanted to take a car home back then because they all wanted to run down to the pub. The pub Builders was down the road, and the Builders was the only one pub that let blackfellas in, at the time.
Yeah.
And Muhammad Ali, he come to ours, Fitzroy.
Did you meet him? Is that one of your favourite memories?
No, I didn't meet him, no. What
Too-
was my
too
favourite
young.
memory?
Or too old?
Oh, I think having like Nan and Auntie Edna in the kitchen, like just welcoming people, and you wouldn't go in there crook from the grog because, you know, you got ripped. Like, we used to run up the stairs, bypass them, and they were like the security of today. Like, you didn't need security, they just had to look at you and you knew to go home. Like, yeah. I think that's what's missing now, like the engagement and the non-judgment service. And, yeah, even if you just want to go in and sit and listen to Neon Moon, like...
Yeah, I love your tunes, don't you, Denise?
Oh, I got told to turn it down. I said, oh, we're not in a library, like... Yeah.
I know, sometimes you'd be in bars. Like, I worked in reception there for a few years. And it was so funny because I would always just like get like messages on Facebook for people wanting doctor's appointments, dental appointments.
Bypassing the phone.
Bypassing the phones and like messaging me, and so and I'd get ripped for being on my phone, and I'm just like, I'm literally doing work. But yeah, and I think one of my best memories as a young person, I think just like growing up back home in Portland, like Windamara would put on not school camps, but like youth camps. They were so much fun, and like even, my mum and dad used to put them on as well. And I think we just had so much fun, just like travelling, those sorts of things, and just the engagement that would happen, I guess. Back then, I think there's so much less of it now. Taking kids, travelling, like on camps and all that kind of stuff. But I think as a teenager, my Auntie Sharon Bamblett used to run like the youth, the after school youth program, whatever. I think it was like 2 days a week, and I was like 15 or 16 at the time, and me, Coy and Jayana, we would organise all the young fellas from like the community to go to the after school care program. And so we would like do up posters, and we had a little Facebook group, and so it's just funny because I do community organising now, and I was thinking, oh geez, I've been doing it for a while, but just in a different context. And I think having that space at the League, at the Croxton Hall, and being able to build that space like for young people, as young people, and given the opportunity to do it as well. I think that it's, one thing I love about Aboriginal organisations is that you give it a red hot go. And, I've been fired from jobs before. But you just keep going, and like if you just give it a go, and I think that's the beauty of Black Orgs, is that you can play up, but you always get a second chance.
Yeah.
And
You can be fired and get asked back. And
yeah, I've been fired from Val's before.
Same.
But Beyonce, I'm back. So yeah, and I just think that so many of those moments of being given those chances and those opportunities have been crucial to the things that I've been able to do today.
What about
I think what I can remember, when I first started school, I think I was about 6. No kinder, nothing before that, straight into school, And my mum said I cried all day and kept sobbing all day. And she said, Mum, come to the school, because we had to walk, from the mission uptown, Balranald, convent school we was going to, about an hour or more to walk along, not the highway and the lowway. There's the high one that goes round from the main drag, Euston, and down to the mission. So we come from the mission along the riverbank, right. We had our own tracks going up the town. So, and I remember about what my mum dressed me in. It was a pair of shorts, like a uniform, just here, got here, and braces, on me, and a little cap. On the little cap like that, and
You look real cute.
yeah, just and my brother the same, and sand shoes. Now looking at these, they're similar to that, but back the white ones because we had to call it whiting, to clean them. They'd be clean. So, and look pretty flashed, and I look back in those days, And I still remember what the colours. That's where they come from, Balranald as well, and they done a lot of work with VACA in Victoria. So all that stuff, connections just seems to follow. Where you're going to meet up with family or somebody else from back home or whatever. So we can travel around. I guarantee, interstate, don't care where you go, you're going to run into somebody that knows your family or part. It's something about our parents and our connections, like I said, we know our own mob and how to deal with it. And of course, stuff that happens, but you can sit down and have a yarn of them, and there's a lot of mental health and drugs and alcohol these days, different roles. But on the mission, we was happy. And when we moved from there, most Koreans lived near a river or, down the flat or wherever, and camped there, But they didn't have nothing, so they was happy. They had a feed and the family, and we're not talking about 1 or 2 kids. We're talking about 10, maybe 12, Even, with my auntie, she had 9 boys, and I said, well, I can see why you got 9, trying to get a girl. Never happened, so she wanted to adopt a girl.
Angela's shaking her head.
There's 9 boys, and that was from that, 1 every year, But our families, like your auntie, my auntie Barbara Solomon, she got 14 kids. And I went up there and seen her a couple of years ago, and I said, because she lives in Malma over there, and she's a Solomon, she's married a Kerr up there in Churka. I said, how many grandkids? I don't know. I can't count anymore. She's about 125 or something like that. And I said, she's sitting in the chair, and she's got 1 here and 1 around the neck and 1 down here, 1 sleeping down there, and 1 beside, and they can't move, So they went, no, hang on, no. But she still does it today. I said, well, you need a big house,
Yeah.
'Cause some of the kids come back home with their kids, and I put a car around the camp up in the backyard, and the kids there. But she just loves her family and kids, doesn't matter, and other people that come there for feed, and that's the way we all are, We'll see someone on the street, hey, bros, what's this? What you doing there? Where you come from? Oh, Adelaide or something. Oh, well, yeah, okay, what? Are you looking for somebody? Oh, just, I don't know, just...
Do you think that's why our orgs are that way too?
Hey?
Do you think that's why our orgs are that way too?
Well, like I said, we're pretty lucky in the
Yeah.
state to have our organisation right up front with everything. Doesn't matter what it is. accommodation, and that's a problem we have, but we're getting better, but we need more funding to have our own accommodation areas, because they've taken a lot of things away, like hostels and stuff like that, family group homes, you know, and dealing with, you know, mainstream says with child protections, with, you know, they're like police to our people, you know, they come and take our kids away again, you know. So we've got the process in place to act on those things if they do happen. And some around mob just want to go with mainstream, so it's such a choice you can make, you know, for whatever reasons. But, you know, we're there for you when you need us. But one thing about our mob, you know, we're not up here, we're not down here, we're all on the same level. We talk the same language, and we'll share whatever we got, you know. Doesn't matter what it is. Well, some things we don't share, but, you know,
The food voucher,
but we big mob in all of us, you know, because even now, now I remember you when a little girl, you know. But, I won't mention you hate me, so. Like I said, I've been just lucky to have a lot of people around me on my journey, you know. And Lars said to me, well, you know, is the thing about retiring? I said, well, yeah, probably this year. You've been saying it for the last 10 years. So I retired 4 times and last for a month. So I said, if I
John Farnham.
if I finished, well, I'm still coming out to get a feed and have a yarn anyway.
I'll ask the group as well. What are some of the examples of histories or stories that you'd like to see documented in this project that's been missing from other projects that have been done, or other histories that have been written? What's missing? What would you love to see documented?
I think with the limited funding back then, like, we still delivered that service. Like, you know, we knew we weren't getting paid, but that service was still needed by the community. And like Tarneen said, how many chances you get, you know, you muck up in one position, you come back. And from Koori College, the health workers, they were meant to go back home, like to Adelaide and Queensland and Perth, but they ended up staying down here because we are the welcoming community, and they're CEOs, managers now. Some are, you know, specialists in doctors and paramedics. So, and I remember just my memory was one of the cousins come and got a cab charge, and we thought he was genuine, and he used a cab charge from Fitzroy to Dandenong to pick up his cousin, then go to Warrnambool. And on the way back, they robbed the bloody bottle shop, like.
You want me to document
so
that
the cab
story?
charge, it was my brother, but yeah. They try and sign it someone else's name, we knew it was you. Like.
I was remembering the story you were telling about shaking the tins for the league.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Tell
we
us
used,
that, yeah.
that was for the league back then.
How old were you?
Probably at school.
Primary school.
Primary school, yeah. Come on, get up, and thought we're going out for the day. Had to shake them bloody tins. And then go and sell boomerangs, because they had an in-to-buy workshop down the road. And I remember one of the aunties, she's still around now, one of the, who was it? One new Australian, come there, hey, and he was being smart to aunt. And she just finished making a boomerang and wood burning, and he was running. She chucked it and it got him, and dropped him, And she goes, I got him, He come back, I'm so sorry, Aunt. No. She goes, do that again, I'll sing you. Yeah, shaking the tins.
Yeah, it's all those stories, I think, that are,
Yeah. And even like working at the back of the old health centre in the pharmacy, like we wouldn't be trusted in pharmacy, like
pharmacy.
We would have sold them tablets today on Smith Street. Right?
No, we wouldn't.
No. And I remember one of the CEOs, she had to come to my nan's and I had to give her a penicillin shot, and I was nervous, and the doctor talked me through it and fixed her up like that. She reckons I saved her life. I said, well, give me a pay rise then, because I'm sure we're all paid by height.
Yes, yeah.
I reckon one of the things that need to be documented is like all of the, I think more things around Koori College, and also just about the generosity of Aboriginal organisations and bringing up people, just like professional development, and also just the history of other organisations like BAI and VALS, because I know VALS has the big history of it on the walls in the service. I think it'd be really good to find out more about it. Like I recently found like a booklet at work, and it was like the first, what is it, AGM report? Yeah. Like the first AGM report for VALS, and I was just looking at it, and I was like, oh, this is amazing, you know, to see this. And it's really funny that it was like this little, what's half an A4 page? What is it? Like
A5.
A5. It was an A5 booklet, and then I found like a 2012 A5 booklet, and it was still in the same format from like the 70s. And now it's changed, so we do have like a new format, but it's just really funny that that format lasted, you know, like 40 years. And I don't know, just all of the people that were involved. I think also just things around, like, not even just about people, like, because I think there can be concentration of like, you know, there's one person who did something, but we know that there's so many people that contribute to making organisations
Behind the scenes.
And it's, you know, like the parents at home cooking dinner for the kids, looking after the kids, even the kids giving up, you know, their parents for the movement, for the sake of the movement, those sorts of things. And I think that, you know, it'd be great to be able to capture those sorts of stories as a part of this project.
And also how we work together, like the Kooris and the non-Kooris. We were the leaders in our own organisation.
Oh, also, just quickly, did I just trigger something about how Aboriginal organisations and Victorian Aboriginal organisations worked together, and how we work together on issues.
Like silos.
Yeah, because I think now it's more siloed. People work in silos.
Yeah, like that pamphlet I found that from the 80s. It was like a pamphlet with all the different orgs signed off on doing fundraising to get people up to the, I think it was the 88.
The march.
Yeah. It's cool. Like, it'll be a part of it, but yeah.
And Vars sent me up to Alice Springs for the handing over of the rock. And my uncle came, and we were in a brand new Land Cruiser and had brand new, like, trailer. And when we got to the rock, he took something from the thing, and on the way back, the motor blew up in the bloody Land Cruiser, and the axle went on the caravan, and we all had to squash, you know. I couldn't wait. And I said, did anyone take anything? And Uncle Brian, no. I said, I'm telling Nan when I get home, because how would that happen, like, you know?
Yeah.
Oh. And we were the only ones that up in Alice Springs. Everyone was in the tent, we were in the caravan, like real flashbacks.
What about you, Angelie? What stories would you like to be?
I think the whole struggle in any, you know, whether it's, you know, education, health, whatever. VAR, for example, was started just a group of community members coming together to make a difference in education, and we've come to now the peak Aboriginal organisation for education across the state, and things have improved in schools. There's still a long way to go, but things have improved so much from even when I was at school.
Yeah.
You know, there's Aboriginal languages in schools now. I would never thought in my lifetime that would happen. So things are changing, but I think, you know, young people, you know, we understand that, you know, the struggles that, you know, our elders and our grandparents have, you know, fought really hard to get us here, and we understand the fight needs to continue, but I think young people don't understand. They read about it, they hear stories about it, but they don't live it, because I think we've become a spoilt generation where they don't have those struggles, so they don't understand. It's great that they don't have those struggles, but they still don't understand, you know, how the fight needs to continue.
And how much more needs to be done.
Yeah.
My grandson asked me, Nan, back in the olden days, did you have a horse and cart? I said, no, I'm not that old.
Yeah, well, mine did.
I had a car. One of the funny things was one of the community members was dirty on us and done a bomb scare. I was up reception up the top, and by the time this fella said bomb, because he had a study, he go, bomb, I was down them stairs, and we all ended up in the park drinking and got locked up that night. Yeah. We got $15 pay, and they used to put in the yellow envelope, and ours flowed today, so we went and chucked him for slab.
Celebration.
Yeah.
I'll leave the last word to you. What, Uncle Pat, what examples of history or stories do you think this project should...
Well, I'd like this knowledge, you know, this cycle that we all been through and still going through. Our work is never done. We're improving slowly, but I'm happy with, you know, the way we engage with mainstream services and understanding. Even a couple of weeks ago, they rang me up mainstream service from Justice and said, Uncle Pat, how do we engage with your mob? Well, you got to talk and be invited to come along. Don't just rush in. But I think our services, through virtue on all the things under V, you look at there, because I still got a phone book, look at what's under V, the Victorian whatever it is, Aboriginal whatever, you know, under V.
Yeah.
So you can look up, I said, look under the V, that's all you know. What are you looking at?
V, yeah.
Access, legal service, health service, all that stuff, VI and all under V. But I think, you know, a lot of people, I think they just acknowledge now and they want to engage with us, but how do they do it respectful way, you know? So, well, just talk to somebody and say, I want to know about Bunjora or Willorain or Dandenong Cobb. Go there and talk to somebody and say, what do you do here? What sort of service? How can we be part of and working together? Because if you don't invite them and, you know, if they don't come there, well, you're going to go without a service that's important to your community, you know. So the more we can do that around the state, and as we all know, we're doing extra work. You know, we don't knock off at 5 o'clock all weekends. You know, to go to the footy or where we go. I said, I needed to have a chat to you about my young fella. Yeah, can that ring to Monday? No, I need to talk to you now about it. So what's the process and all that? Okay. And we do that. That's you know. I had people come to my place and said, I can't go home. I said, why? I'm in trouble because I went out and spent the rent and my wife's waiting for me to get home and I'm a bit scared. Can you have a chat to her? I said, yeah, I can tell her that you're here, okay? But all those sort of things, I say, that thing, they can talk to somebody that's safe, whatever it might be. I've had them bailed at my place and on parole and everything else. But I said, I'm looking at Bunjora at my own place, you know, but that's the way we do our work, you know. We never, if somebody's in need of something, we'll just give them some advice. Okay, this is what they need to do. Then it's up to you to do something about it because there's plenty of opportunity, whatever it might be. So that's a bit from, see the
capture
sign
all
up there
that, yeah.
for me. Time's up, it says there.
Thank you. I just want to let everybody know that there's a panel being curated by VATCHO about Aboriginal health and Aboriginal hands at the State Library at 3 o'clock. We'd love to see you there as well. And I'd like to thank, or we would like to thank, the City of Melbourne, Melbourne Knowledge Week, and their team, Annette Vusso particularly, and Georgia Simmons. And we'd like to thank all the orgs that are involved in the consultative group, VAI, VALS, VAXEL, VATCHO.
All the V's.
All the V's. and the Advancement League. And please join me in thanking Tanine and Julie, Uncle Pat and Denise.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.